The wind howls across a frozen plain, carrying the smell of iron and smoke. A man kneels in the snow, his breath thick with terror, as riders in wolf pelts close in. The drums start, slow at first, then faster, echoing like a heartbeat. Genghis Khan does not shout. He watches, silent, unblinking. What kind of man conquers half the world, yet finds his true power not in armies, but in agony? Would you still admire him if you heard how he made kings beg for death? Long before the title Great Khan, there was Temujin, a boy with frost-bitten fingers and hunger gnawing at his ribs. He once sat beside his dying father, listening to the wet rasp of his last breath, the smell of sour milk and blood mixed in the air. That night, he swore never to be powerless again, but deep down, he feared something more than death, that without fear, no one would ever obey him. The sky over the steppe was too still that morning. The horses shifted uneasily, their nostrils steaming in the cold. Temujin stood alone on a hill, staring at the horizon where his enemies once laughed at him. The orphan of the grass. When the first arrow was loosed, he didn't flinch. He remembered every insult, every theft of food, every betrayal that left him sleeping in the dirt beside his dead mother. His men struck without mercy. Villages burned. The wind carried no screams, only silence. That was his rule. Silence first, then fire. He believed fear had to be learned in stages, not from battle, but from the waiting. And when they caught their enemies, they didn't kill them right away. They let them feel the weight of his promise. The quiet before the storm that would never end. By the time dawn came, the silence was broken only by the crackle of charred wood and the low moans of the dying. Temujin didn't smile. He only whispered to himself, "Now, they'll remember the loyalty of a Mongol general was worth more than gold, until it wasn't." One of his closest commanders, Jamuka, once called him brother. They shared blood, victories, and stolen meat by the fire. But brotherhood was fragile in a world built on fear. When Jamuka's betrayal came, it struck deeper than any sword. Genghis didn't kill him quickly. He ordered the cleansing by silver. Molten metal poured into Jamuka's eyes, a death without blood, preserving the soul's passage. As Jamuka's screams faded, Genghis turned away, eyes hollow. "He was my friend," he muttered, almost to himself. Yet his men saw something else, a lesson carved into flesh. Loyalty wasn't love, it was control. That day, he crowned himself in iron, not gold. Every ally would kneel, not in respect, but in terror. And still, in the quiet moments before sleep, the sound of melting silver haunted him. A reminder that power and loneliness were now the same thing. In the burning deserts of Khwarezm, Genghis Khan faced a ruler who dared to defy him, the Shah who killed his envoys and spat on Mongol pride. Genghis wanted more than victory. He wanted memory. The Shah's generals were captured first. Each was sealed in wooden crates, alive, and left beneath the blazing sun. Inside, they clawed until their fingernails tore away. Days later, when the crates were opened, their faces had melted into the wood. The Shah fled into the mountains, hunted by ghosts of his own army. When he was finally found, half-starved and trembling, Genghis spared him no mercy, no words, only a stare colder than the snow that would soon cover his bones. That night, Genghis sat by the fire, silent. A soldier asked if the Khan felt peace. He didn't answer. For the first time, victory felt heavy. like a crown made of ash. Some rulers win the world with armies, others win it with silence and the echoes of screams no one dares to repeat. Years passed, and his tortures became legend. Cities surrendered before the Mongols even arrived. Survivors told stories that no one questioned, that Genghis could turn the wind itself into a messenger of death. But one survivor told a different tale. A soldier, blinded but alive, claimed the Khan knelt beside him before letting him go. Tell them what fear feels like, Genghis whispered. Make them see me in their dreams. What no one knew was that the soldier also heard something else. A tremor in the Khan's voice. Regret, maybe, or exhaustion. For all his power, Genghis had become a prisoner of his own legend. Every act of cruelty had to outdo the last. The wind that once carried his name across continents now whispered it back, hollow and cold. Even his sons began to question the line between lesson and madness. When Genghis grew old, his empire stretched farther than any before it, from the Pacific to Persia, from snow to sand, but his heart had hardened into stone. His sons, raised on his teachings, now turned his tortures upon each other. Brothers boiled alive in cauldrons meant for enemies, daughters exiled for showing mercy. The empire built on fear began to rot from within. One night, as the Khan lay dying, he asked for silence. Not prayers, not songs, silence. He looked toward the horizon, eyes dim with age, and whispered, I built a world that will never forget me. And yet, in that moment, perhaps he finally understood. The only thing fear cannot conquer is peace. Power gave him everything, except rest. Fear built his empire, but it also buried his soul. Would you have chosen mercy, knowing it might destroy your legacy? Or would you, like him, trade compassion for immortality? If this story made you question what power really costs, share your thoughts below. And remember, every empire of terror ends the same way, in silence. Next time, the night his empire began to devour itself,